Am I a soldier of the cross, a follower of the Lamb? And shall I fear to own his cause, or blush to speak his name? Shall I be carried to the skies on flowery beds of ease, whilst others fought to win the prize and sailed on bloody seas?
Yep, it started.
All right. Looks like it's going.
Well, what are we going to talk about today? Got an opinion?
Cameras will let the other way.
You're playing with the camera controls. Go ahead and move it over to yourself now. There we are.
Okay. Today we have a new guest. His name is Mr. Rios. Okay. Talking about same old issues. Migration. What was the
Arriba, arriba. Marchando, bandido. Immigration laws are like a speed limit, 5 miles an hour on the interstate. We should be ashamed of ourselves to defend it. Fix those lines so no lifetime we wait.
They tell me get in line like everybody else. You are legal, you broken the law that tells. Why no army, folks like me expelled?
Get in line like everybody else.
Oh God, our help in ages past.